raised her child like his own. Then the truth changed everything. Marcus Reed, a kind-hearted mechanic who devoted his life to raising a child he believed was his, stood proudly beside his wife, Lena Carter, thinking he had built a loving family, but everything shattered the moment a hidden truth surfaced. A truth Lena had buried for years. A truth about the child's real father. And as Marcus begins to realize that the life he sacrificed everything for might have been built on a lie, the question is, who is the real father? Why did Lena hide it? And what will Marcus do when he discovers the truth that could destroy everything he believed in? Scene 1. Marcus Reed was not a rich man, not powerful, not influential, but he was dependable. The kind of man people overlooked until they needed him. Every morning before sunrise, Marcus would unlock the doors of his small auto repair shop, the faint smell of engine oil and metal already clinging to his clothes before the day even began. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. And for Marcus, that was enough, because everything he did for his family, Lena, and little Noah. Noah wasn't his by blood, but that had never mattered to him. Not once. Marcus still remembered the day Lena told him she was pregnant. The fear in her eyes, the hesitation, the way she couldn't even meet his gaze. "I didn't plan this," she had whispered. And Marcus? He didn't ask questions. He didn't demand answers. He just stepped forward. "I'm here," he told her. And he meant it. From that moment on, Noah became his son. Not legally, not biologically, but in every way that truly mattered. The late nights when Noah cried, Marcus was there. Doctor visits, Marcus. First steps, Marcus. First words, da-da. That moment alone meant everything to him. Years passed, and Marcus built his life around that small family. He worked longer hours, skipped meals, put off his own dreams, just to make sure Noah never felt the absence of a father. But Lena was different. At first, she seemed grateful, soft, loving. But over time, something changed. The warmth faded. The appreciation turned into expectation, then into frustration. "You're always at work," she would say. "I'm doing this for us," Marcus would reply. But somehow, it was never enough. And then came the subtle comparisons. "You know, Claire's husband just bought her a new car." Marcus would stay quiet. Because what could he say when he was fixing other people's cars, not buying new ones? "I just thought life would be different," Lena said one night, staring out the window. Marcus looked at her. Something about the way she said it felt distant, like she was already somewhere else. "What kind of different?" he asked softly. Lena hesitated, then shook her head. "Forget it." But Marcus didn't forget, because deep down, he felt it. That shift, that growing distance, like he was slowly losing something he had fought so hard to build, and he didn't even know why. But the truth had been there all along, hidden, waiting, and soon, it would change everything. The change didn't happen all at once. It was subtle, quiet, almost invisible, unless you were paying attention. Marcus noticed it in the small things first. The way Lena started spending more time on her phone, smiling at messages she never shared. The way she dressed differently, even on ordinary days. The way she stopped asking how his day went. At first he told himself he was overthinking. People change, life gets busy. But then came the late nights. "I have to stay back at work," Lena said one evening, grabbing her purse in a hurry. Marcus glanced at the clock. "It's already 8. "It's important," she replied quickly. "We have a new client." Marcus nodded slowly. "Okay, just be safe." She paused at the door. For a brief second, Her eyes softened, but then it disappeared. "I will." And she left. Marcus stood there for a moment, the silence settling in. Then he turned to Noah, who sat on the floor, playing with a small toy car. "Looks like it's just us tonight again." Buddy," Marcus said with a faint smile. Noah looked up, grinning. "Pizza?" Marcus chuckled. "Yeah, pizza." Moments like that kept him going. Simple, real, uncomplicated. But even in those quiet moments, something didn't feel right. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And Lena's late nights became normal. Then came the calls. She would step outside to answer them, lower her voice, laugh softly. A laugh Marcus hadn't heard directed at him in a long time. One night, he couldn't ignore it anymore. "Lena," he said gently, as she walked back in. "Everything okay?" She froze slightly. "Yeah, why?" "You just seem different," Marcus replied carefully. "Different how?" she asked, her tone defensive now. Marcus hesitated, because he didn't want to accuse her, but didn't want to believe what his mind was starting to suggest. "I don't know, just distant." Lena let out a sharp breath. "Marcus, I'm just tired. Not everything is a problem." "I didn't say it was," he said quickly, "but the damage was done." She shook her head and walked past him. "Good night." And just like that, the conversation ended. But Marcus didn't sleep that night, because for the first time, a thought crossed his mind, a thought he didn't want. What if there's someone else? The next clue came unexpectedly, a simple moment that changed everything. Marcus had gone to Lena's workplace one afternoon. He wanted to surprise her, bring her lunch, do something thoughtful, like he used to. As he walked into the building, he felt slightly out of place. Everything was polished, corporate, far from the grease-stained world he came from. He approached the front desk. "Hi, I'm here to see Lena Carter." The receptionist smiled politely. "Do you have an appointment?" Marcus shook his head. "No, I just thought I'd surprise her." The receptionist hesitated, then picked up the phone. After a brief conversation, she nodded. "You can go up." Marcus smiled. "Thank you." As he stepped into the elevator, something in his chest felt tight. Not fear, just uncertainty. When the elevator doors opened, he stepped into a quiet hallway, and that's when he saw it. Lena, standing at the far end, talking to a man, a well-dressed man, confident, sharp, the kind of man who didn't need to try to impress anyone. Marcus slowed his steps. Something about the way they stood. Close. Too close. And then, the man reached out and gently touched Lena's arm. Not casually, not professionally, intimately. Lena didn't pull away. Instead, she smiled. A real smile. The kind Marcus hadn't seen in a long time. His chest tightened. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching a moment he wasn't supposed to see. And then, the man leaned closer, said something softly. Lena laughed, that same soft laugh, and in that instant, Marcus felt it, that quiet crack inside him, the kind that doesn't make noise, but changes everything. "Marcus?" Her voice snapped him back. Lena had turned, saw him. Her expression shifted instantly, from relaxed to shocked. "What are you doing here?" she asked quickly. Marcus forced a small smile, holding up the bag. I brought you lunch." The man beside her looked at Marcus, then at Lena. "Everything okay?" he asked. Lena hesitated, just for a second. Then, "Yes," she said quickly. "This is my husband." The word felt strange coming from her, distant, uncertain. The man extended his hand. "Evan Blake," he said smoothly. Marcus shook it. "Marcus." Firm grip, confident, too confident. "And you are?" Marcus asked. "Business associate," Evan replied without hesitation. But Marcus didn't miss the look, the one that passed between them. Quick, silent, but loud enough. After a few awkward exchanges, Marcus left. But he didn't feel the same. The drive back to his shop was quiet, heavy, his mind replaying everything. The touch, the smile, the laughter, and that man, Evan Blake. Something wasn't right, and then deep down, Marcus knew it. But what he didn't know was that this wasn't just about betrayal. This was about something far bigger, something deeper, something that had been hidden from him since the very beginning, and soon. The truth wouldn't just hurt him, it would break everything. Marcus tried to ignore it. He really did. For days after what he saw at Lena's office, he buried himself in work, fixing engines, replacing parts, doing anything that kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. But thoughts don't disappear like that. They linger, they grow, and eventually they demand answers. At home, things felt different, colder, more distant than ever. Lena barely looked at him anymore. Their conversations became short, practical, empty. Did you pick up Noah from school?" "Yes." "Did you pay the electricity bill?" "I will." That was it. No warmth, no connection, just coexistence. One evening, Marcus sat at the dinner table with Noah, helping him with homework. "Dad, look," Noah said, holding up a drawing. Marcus smiled. "What is it?" "It's us," Noah said proudly. Marcus looked at the picture. 3 stick figures. Him, Noah, and Lena, holding hands. For a moment, his chest tightened. Because that picture, it wasn't real anymore. "Looks perfect, buddy," Marcus said, forcing a smile. Noah grinned. "Teacher said we have to bring a family photo tomorrow too." Marcus nodded slowly. "A photo, huh?" "Yeah, a real one." Marcus swallowed. "Okay, we'll find one." But later that night, he realized something. They didn't have many recent photos together, not as a family, not anymore. That thought stayed with him. And somehow, it led him to something unexpected. Old memories, old boxes, things he hadn't looked at in years. Marcus went into the small storage room and pulled out a dusty container filled with old documents and photos. He wasn't even sure what he was looking for. Maybe reassurance. Maybe something to remind him that things used to be real. As he flipped through the contents, he found hospital records, documents from when Noah was born. He smiled faintly. That day had been one of the happiest of his life, the day he became a father. Not by blood, but by choice. And that meant more to him than anything. But as he scanned the papers casually, something caught his eye. A name on one of the documents. Well, it wasn't his. Marcus frowned slightly. He leaned closer. Read it again. His heart skipped. Because under Father's information, there was a name he didn't recognize. Evan Blake. For a moment, everything went silent. The world around him disappeared. No sound, no movement, just that name, staring back at him. Evan Blake. The same man he saw with Lena. The same man who touched her arm like he belonged there. The same man she introduced as a business associate. Marcus felt his hands go cold. "No," he whispered. It didn't make sense. It couldn't. This had to be a mistake, a typo, something. But deep down, he already knew. Memories started replaying, fragments, pieces he had ignored. The way Lena hesitated when she first told him she was pregnant. The way she avoided certain questions. The way timelines never fully added up. But he never pushed. Because he didn't want to lose her. Because he chose love over doubt. Because he chose to believe. And now, that belief was collapsing. Marcus sat there on the floor, the paper trembling in his hands. His breathing grew heavier, uneven. Evan, he muttered. The name tasted bitter. Because this wasn't just about Lena anymore. This wasn't just about betrayal. This was about Noah, his son. Or maybe not. No, Marcus shook his head, standing up abruptly. This doesn't change anything. His voice was firm, almost desperate. I raised him. He paced the room. I was there. Every step, every moment, every tear, every laugh. I'm his father. But the paper in his hand said otherwise. That night, Marcus didn't sleep. He couldn't. He sat beside Noah's bed, watching him breathe peacefully. The same way he had done so many nights before. Protective, present, loving. Nothing about that felt fake. Nothing about that felt like a lie. So how could the truth feel so wrong? The next morning, Marcus made a decision. He needed answers, not assumptions, not guesses. The truth, no matter how painful it was. Lena was in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone when he walked in. Lena, Marcus said. His voice was calm, too calm. She looked up briefly. What? Marcus placed the document on the table, slowly, carefully. I found this. Lena's eyes dropped to the paper, and in that instant, everything changed. Her face lost color. Her fingers tightened slightly around her phone, and for the first time, Marcus saw it. Not confusion, not denial, but fear. Real fear. What is this? Marcus asked quietly. Lena didn't answer. Lena, he repeated, his voice stronger now. Why is Evan Blake listed as the father? Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. She looked at the paper again, then at Marcus. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. Because there were no more lies left to hide behind. And Marcus, he already knew. He just needed to hear it. Because sometimes the truth isn't revealed in words. It's revealed in silence. The silence in the kitchen felt suffocating. Marcus stood there, unmoving, his eyes locked on Lena as if waiting for reality to correct itself. But it didn't. It only got worse. Say something, Marcus demanded, his voice low but firm. Lena's lips trembled. I can explain. That sentence alone told him everything. Marcus let out a hollow laugh. Explain, he repeated. Explain what, Lena? That the man I met at your office, the man you said was just a business associate, is actually Noah's father. Her silence answered him again, and this time it hit harder. You lied to me, Marcus said, not loudly, not angrily, but with a weight that carried years of trust, breaking all at once. I didn't lie, she started quickly. Marcus slammed his hand lightly on the table, not violent, but enough to stop her. Don't, he said sharply, don't do that, don't twist this. Lena's eyes filled with tears. I was scared, she whispered. Of what? Marcus asked. Of telling me the truth, or of losing the life I was giving you? That landed, because deep down, she knew. She knew why she stayed silent. It was before you, Lena said quickly. Before we got serious, Evan and I, it was complicated. Marcus shook his head slowly. But when you got pregnant, he continued for her, you chose me. Lena nodded weakly. You were stable. You were kind. You stayed. Marcus let out a bitter breath. So, I was the safe option. No, she cried. But not the real one. He cut in. That silence again. That same silence that confirmed everything. Marcus stepped back slightly, running a hand through his hair. All these years, he muttered. All these years I thought I was building something real. You were, Lena insisted. You are his father. No, Marcus said, shaking his head. I'm the man you let believe He was his father. That difference? It cut deep. Before Lena could respond, Marcus's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something told him not to. He answered, "Hello?" "Mr. Reed," a formal voice spoke. "This is Carter and Blake Holdings. We'd like to confirm your attendance at today's executive board meeting." Marcus frowned. "Board meeting?" "Yes, your presence is required. It concerns a personal matter." Marcus's eyes narrowed slightly. "What kind of personal matter?" There was a pause, then, "Mr. Evan Blake requested it." Marcus's grip tightened on the phone. "Evan, of course." "Time and location?" he asked. After getting the details, he hung up slowly. Lena watched him carefully. "What is it?" Marcus looked at her, cold, controlled. "There's a meeting," he said. "Your business associate wants to see me." Lena's face went pale again. "Marcus, you don't have to go." But he already knew. He had to. Yes, because this wasn't over. Not even close. Hours later, Marcus walked into the most intimidating room he had ever seen. A massive boardroom, glass walls, polished floors, powerful people seated around a long table. Executives, investors, men and women who looked like they controlled entire industries. And at the center of it all, Evan Blake, confident, composed, like he owned the room. Marcus stepped inside. Every eye turned to him. He could feel the judgment, the curiosity, the silent question, "Who is this man?" Evan stood up slowly. "Marcus," he said smoothly, "I'm glad you came." Marcus didn't respond, didn't shake his hand, didn't pretend. "Let's skip the formalities," Marcus said. "Why am I here?" Evan smiled faintly, straight to the point. "I like that." He gestured toward a chair. "Or sit." Marcus remained standing. "I'll stand," Evan nodded. "Fair enough." Then, Evan turned to the room. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "this meeting concerns a personal matter, but one that affects more than just me." Marcus frowned slightly. What game was this? Evan walked around the table slowly, calm, calculated. "For years," he continued, "there has been something unresolved in my life." Marcus felt it, that tension building. That something is my son. The room shifted slightly. Subtle reactions, interest, surprise. Marcus's jaw tightened. Evan stopped walking, turned to face Marcus directly. And the man who raised him. Silence. Heavy, explosive. Every eye in the room now locked onto Marcus. "Let me be clear," Evan said, his voice steady. "Noah is my biological son." The words hit like a shockwave, even though Marcus already knew. Hearing it like this, in front of everyone, was different, public, humiliating, final. "And you," Evan continued, looking at Marcus, "you've been, what exactly? A stand-in?" A few quiet murmurs filled the room. Marcus's fists clenched. But he didn't react, not yet, because he was listening, watching, understanding something deeper. "You see," Evan went on, "I've recently decided to take responsibility for what's mine." Marcus's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" he asked. Evan smiled slightly. "It means I'll be stepping into my son's life." The audacity, the arrogance, like Marcus had just been temporary. "And you expect me to just step aside?" Marcus asked quietly. Evan shrugged. "You were never meant to be permanent." That was it. That was the moment. Something inside Marcus shifted. Not anger, not rage. Something stronger. Clarity. Marcus looked around the room, at the people watching, at the power, at the arrogance sitting across from him. And then, he did something no one expected. He laughed. Soft at first, then slightly louder. Evan frowned. What's funny? Marcus shook his head. You think this is about biology, he said. It is, Evan replied coldly. No, Marcus said, his voice firm now. It's about responsibility. He stepped forward. You had a child, Marcus continued, and you walked away. Evan's expression tightened. I didn't know. And when you found out, Marcus cut in, did you come looking for him? Did you check if he was okay? Did you care who was raising him? Silence. Because Evan didn't have that answer. Marcus took another step forward. I was there, he said. Every day, every night, every moment that mattered. His voice wasn't loud, but it filled the room. While you were building your empire, I was building a family. The room went still, because suddenly, this wasn't about money or power or status. It was about something real. Evan's jaw tightened. This isn't about feelings, he said. It's about facts. Marcus nodded slowly. Then here's a fact, he replied. He looked him dead in the eye. You may be his father, but I'm his dad. Silence, absolute silence. And in that moment, for the first time, Evan didn't look powerful. He looked challenged. The silence in the boardroom didn't break immediately. It lingered, heavy, uncomfortable, because what Marcus said couldn't be ignored. Not by Evan, not by the executives watching, not even by the truth itself. Evan straightened slightly, trying to regain control of the moment. This isn't about who was there, he said, his tone sharper now. It's about what's right moving forward. Marcus didn't respond right away. He simply looked at him, calm, grounded, unshaken. And what exactly do you think is right? Marcus asked. Evan exhaled slowly, adjusting his jacket. My son deserves the best, he said. The best schools, the best opportunities, the best life. Marcus nodded slightly. And you think that only comes from money? Evan didn't hesitate. Yes. A few heads in the room subtly nodded, because in their world, that answer made sense. But Marcus smiled faintly. As not in amusement, in understanding. You know what's interesting? Marcus said. What? Evan replied. You talk about giving him the best life. Marcus continued, his voice steady. But you don't even know what his favorite food is. That hit, harder than expected. Evan's expression flickered. You don't know what scares him at night, Marcus went on. Silence. You don't know how he smiles when he's proud of himself, or how he looks for me in a crowd. The room was completely still now, because this wasn't business anymore. This was real. And you want to walk in, Marcus added, and replace everything I've built with a check? Evan's jaw tightened. I'm his father. And I'm the one who showed up, Marcus replied. Before Evan could respond, the boardroom doors opened, and every head turned. Lena, she stood there, and breathing heavily, eyes red, like she had been crying for hours. Stop, she said. Her voice trembled, but it carried. Marcus turned. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. I didn't come here for this, Lena said, walking slowly into the room. I didn't come here to watch you both fight over him like he's something to win. Evan frowned. Lena, this is not… No, she snapped, her voice breaking. You don't get to decide what this is. The room shifted again, because now, the truth had a voice. She turned to Marcus, and for the first time since everything started, she looked small, not proud, not distant, just broken. I ruined everything, she said softly. Marcus didn't respond. He just listened. I thought I was choosing a better life, she continued, and I thought money would fix everything. Her voice cracked. But I was wrong. Silence. Raw. honest. She looked at Evan. "You didn't want him," she said. Evan stiffened. "That's not fair." "You didn't," she repeated. "You walked away. And now that it's convenient, now that it fits your life, you want to come back?" Evan didn't answer, because again, there was no answer. Then she turned back to Marcus. "I lied to you," she said. "I took advantage of your kindness, your love." Tears streamed down her face now. "But you gave him everything I couldn't." Marcus's expression softened slightly. Not forgiveness, but recognition. "He doesn't need the richest man in the room," Lena said quietly. She paused, then finished. "He needs his dad." The words settled into the room like truth, finally finding its place. And for the first time, everyone understood. Evan looked around, at the faces, at the silence, at the shift in power, because somehow, despite all his wealth, he was losing, not in business, but in something far more important. Marcus took a slow breath, then finally spoke. "I'm not here to fight," he said. He looked at Evan. "If you want to be in his life, that's your choice." Evan blinked slightly, caught off guard. "But understand this," Marcus added. "You don't replace me." His voice was calm, but final. "You earn your place." Silence. Then, Evan nodded. Once, not in defeat, but in realization, because for the first time, he understood what money couldn't buy. Marcus turned to leave. No dramatic exit, no anger. Just done. "Marcus," Lena's voice stopped him. He paused, but didn't turn. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The words were fragile, broken, real. Marcus closed his eyes for a brief second, then spoke. "Some things don't get fixed with apologies." And then he walked away. Days later, Marcus stood outside Noah's school, watching him run toward him with a wide smile. "Dad!" Marcus knelt slightly, catching him in a hug. "Hey, buddy." Noah grinned. "Guess what? I got the highest score." Marcus smiled. "I'm not surprised." And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the lies, not the betrayal, not even the truth. Because what they had was real. Across the street, Lena watched from a distance, alone. Tears in her eyes, because now she understood. Too late. And Evan, he stayed in the background, learning. Slowly. Because some roles aren't given, they're earned. Because in the end, blood might define where life begins, but love defines who stays. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe for more.